Hello, everyone, and we are back for another Monday, which means another Where's Your Heart. I love this. Oh, yay, live. I
I,
don't know what's going on
I
with
don't know what happened, but that was the most technical difficulties we've had since we started the show.
I, oh, no.
Oh, what?
Oh, God, I can already tell this show's going to be very interesting. Um,
Well, there we go.
well,
All right.
you're starting to do the freezing thing again.
I am? I thought you
Remember what
were.
happened last time we did the
All
freezing
right.
thing?
I'm going to switch browsers. Why don't you start with gratitude, I
So
guess?
I know what this means. Royce, you're
I'll
going to
be
have to
right
go get
back.
your phone. Go get your
I'll
phone.
be right back.
I will do that. I will do that. Well, welcome everyone to Where's Your Heart, where we champion vulnerability as a core human strength. And you gotta love live television. This is great. So, thank you once again for being here with us. And while Royce is grabbing his phone, I'm going to go ahead and start with our gratitude for this week. Um, what should my gratitude be for this week? um, I think I'm going to go with, strangely enough, bad dreams. And this is why. I think quite often when we are dealing with the hustle and bustle of either running a business, running a family, and just trying to do it all, we sometimes forget that we need to have a moment to visit with those that we don't get to see often, friends, family. Um, Actually had a bad dream that somebody I care very deeply about passed away. Caused me so much fear that I woke up at 6:30 this morning texting them to see if they were okay. It was that vivid of a dream. So I will have to say that that is probably my gratitude, is that moment, that bad dream made me realize that I need to take a moment and remember those that I need to reach out to and say, hey, and Royce, you're
Yeah,
back.
we think. We think. Like, I don't know. All right, welcome to Monday. Welcome to the new time, y'all.
Yes, the new time. Maybe
um
that's what it is. It's like, well, now that it's a new time, we're just gonna glitch. We're just gonna do some crazy stuff.
I mean, I guess that's my lead for gratitude is that
Mhm.
I'm really grateful to be working with you and Torian on this stuff. I'm looking at launching a lifetime for the podcast that I do solo, and I'm sitting here going, how the hell am I going to run all this shit? And when something goes sideways like this, because it's going to happen. It's just how it is, like I
Uh-huh.
mean, it happens to professional agencies. Why would we think it wouldn't happen to us? But anyway, just that. I mean, everything from when there's my gratitude today. I'm especially thankful for you, Teresa. So I didn't have the link, but all I had to do was go into the email, the thing, and there it was, because you'd sent the link to all of our guests already, and the bios are all prepared, and it just, like, having partners to work on this stuff with. Thank you. It means the world to work with folks who who are present for each other, and yeah.
Well, it definitely comes down to I enjoy doing this work. I, in fact, having conversations with folks as we were planning for our upcoming shows, which we're going to have a lot of cool topics, and just
Yes.
reaching out to people to see, if they would be interested and if they have stories to share, and getting messages from people saying, I'm really glad to see you doing this show and
Mm,
creating this space. And I feel it's needed. So it's important work. I love everything I do. I really do. But I do cherish being on the show. So yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. You are welcome. Happy to do it.
Thank you, my friend. And we saw a little hello there from Lee too. We see you,
Yes.
pretty people.
Hi, Kelly.
I will endeavor to accept this.
And
and
while
send
we're on here, yes, and they're watching on our Facebook page and on YouTube. So I want to take this moment to please remind you
Yep.
to go to our YouTube page and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know when episodes are going live. They will notify you. The more subscribers we get, it just gives us little nifty tidbits of stuff that we can do, like have an actual link that has our name in it.
A link with a
On
name
YouTube.
instead of a
So
random
it's not,
series of digits.
yes. So it's not youtube.com/HPC12. We don't want that. Branding, ladies and gentlemen, is important. And we want it too. Everyone should have it.
The other thing is, please know that we will be, we're making the decision. We're going to be moving towards streaming only to YouTube.
Yes.
So please do go over there and like and subscribe and hit that notification button so you'll know when we're up there. When you post comments on YouTube, we'll be able to respond just the same way as folks in Facebook and everything. And I see Dr. Gaddis pinging up there also. So yeah, other previous guests, they can
I guess now I do believe it. What? Huh?
He was commenting when we were a blank screen, like, and then you and I were like up there. They saw me getting up and leaving and stuff. Like all sorts of weird things were going on. It was all right. So I'm gonna let it go.
It's not even a full moon. We can't blame that.
No,
we can't blame that at all.
This is just like our guests today are like, what the hell have we gotten ourselves into?
Yeah, they're like, this is not normal. It's not normal. Probably do have ghosts. I believe. So let's go into last week now.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I was supposed to handle it this week.
Last week,
yeah. Last week, yeah. I was supposed to be like, what am I going to choose to talk about this week? And then something happened that actually, being that we're on the show that we are, it's also going to lead. We're going to have to do a show about this. I was going through researching what I wanted to bring up, in the world wise that happened last week.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I feel like I'm not sure if a lot happened, because it's weird to have now news that isn't just
Nazis marching on the Capitol.
Exactly. I'm just kind of like, I was like, wow, like I actually saw something about like kids holding hands, and it was beautiful. But I actually
international news is making it into CNN again.
But I ended up getting distracted by a message that came into my Facebook Messenger from somebody that I haven't spoken to in 10 years. It was pretty much the process I started when I started realizing you do not need to keep every single person you meet in your life. Sometimes there are people that are toxic and should not be a part of your life, and they were there for that moment, and you realize, they shouldn't be here anymore. So that was this particular person. I realized that they had diva-like behavior, and it was always about them and catering to them. And I was asked in a position that they used to have, what I thought, at least this is what I'm remembering, because this was 10 years ago. I wrote an article about how I felt because he was a community leader and I wasn't happy about how things were being led.
Yeah.
So I cut this person out of my life, and they decided 10 years later that they needed to write a message to me to tell me that they took a long time to forgive me, and that, I hurt them badly. And they just felt, they were like, well, I don't know if you're going to see this or not, but I just felt like I needed to say it. And don't get me wrong, I kind of feel like everybody has that moment that they need to let that be heard. They need to get something off their chest. But I'm going to take this as a moment to say, if you are having something that is reeling in you, that it lasted 10 years, it affected your life for 10 years, I would have expected that conversation would come up sooner. But sometimes it takes a long time for people to handle that. But
yeah, it seems like having the conversation when I realized this really hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be the kind of time to have a conversation.
I honestly feel, and I've learned that with now going through a divorce and being a person that didn't want to rock the boat, didn't want to like kill any connections I might meet with people. Yeah. I've gotten to a point that I'm just like, it is a waste of time to not be honest when you're seeing something, if you don't speak up and say something. So I've gotten to the point that if somebody is asking me an honest opinion, I'm going to give them an honest opinion. They might not like it. They might have problems with it, but they cannot tell me that I didn't give them an honest opinion. And it's going to cause them to take a look and see, maybe they had a point there. So it was just surprising to me. I hate to feel like I hurt anybody. I hate doing that. I also feel like it would have been great to know what it was I did and settle that at that time than trying to, figure out what it was I did 10 years ago. Because I'm all about apologizing when I do something wrong, but I feel like I can't do that when I don't even remember what the whole topic was. So
yeah.
I realize we're gonna have to do a show on like the whole sense of like grudges and holding on to things that pretty much are toxic and you shouldn't hold on to.
I'm yes, hell yeah. I mean, it's just I'm sitting with that one going, holy crap! Like there's so much there. Just about basic communication. Like how do we yeah.
It leads back to why we do this show. I feel like there are so many things that people should be talking about, and because they're afraid or they don't want to, make anybody upset. I feel like we don't grow. We don't move forward if we're not having conversations that are uncomfortable. And sometimes that's what conversations are. They're uncomfortable, but sometimes they have to be had in order to move forward and grow. So the most I could tell this person was that, I'm hope that what they said, they obviously needed to say it. So I hope they got the relief they deserved. And being that I really, I've done a lot of living in 10 years. So I told them, I said,
I fucked some shit up in 10 years. Let's just put it out there.
So all I could say was, you obviously are doing you. So continue doing you and good luck. I wasn't sure what he was really expecting my response to be.
Yeah. What are you looking for?
Yeah. But then again, it obviously wasn't really about me. It was about him needing to say what he needed to say. It's just, yeah. So that happened last week. That happened last week and it interrupted. But I guess I needed a form of drama since there really wasn't a whole lot in the news. But so I just needed some created. There you go.
I would say there was a lot of drama in the news, but it was relief to have the drama.
It was a whole different feeling this week. But I mean, it's definitely we're excited that we are in the month of February, Black History Month, and we definitely want to celebrate that, and that's what we're doing with the topics that we're doing today and the rest of the month. So I'm excited with the guests that we have here today.
Yeah. Indeed, and it's so we had the three of us had a conversation last week about how important it is during Black History Month to that we might be highlighting things during Black History Month, but it means dog shit if we aren't dealing with these issues the rest of the year.
Exactly.
And so just to reiterate that message, and that probably is something we're going to reiterate this whole month. But, yeah, so let's make sure that we're staying tuned into that this race, was founded because these two humans who had every reason to not be vulnerable with each other, chose to be vulnerable with each other, and it led to an amazing friendship and snowballed into this thing. So Torian, yes, in the back seat back there, pushing the buttons.
Yes, button pusher.
The race has been part of this show since the get-go, and a vital part of my learning personally, and I hope for other folks out there. So there's a lot there, and today's topic. There it is. Look at that. It is. Who did that?
He's doing it.
He's doing it. He must know when I start rambling that it's time for a transition.
Exactly. He's like, click the button. Do the button. Oh, goodness. Well, we do have this appeared on Huffington Post front page that it's like they knew we were doing this show today.
Yeah.
And we really discuss topics we want to have on the show, and I felt this one was important. I think that with talking about what the community needs, we're even gonna have to dig deeper. I feel like this topic, this conversation that's begun it's I don't want to say parfait. Is it layers? I mean, they have layers. Parfaits have layers. This is like an onion. That's what it is.
This
There's
is
going to be
layer
so many
one of a
layers to it.
million. Like it's
Exactly.
layer
So
one
this
of
is
a
just
million.
one of the many layers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt I really think it's a topic that many can connect with and feel like they need a voice. So I'm glad that we're doing this today. And we have 3 amazing guests that are here with us today.
And I'm going to repeat this partially for myself, but partially for so today we're going to have 4 women on screen who identify as Black women. But yet, let's still not make the mistake of saying that they speak for all Black women.
Yeah.
Let's be really, really clear that this is meant to tease the variety within the melanated spectrum. Like that's the goal of this conversation is to begin expanding that to continue expanding that conversation. People have been doing this for a long time. Just some of us haven't been paying attention. So there we go. You got the first intro. You want to go?
Yes, I do. Cultural strategist and transformation coach Ebony Isis Booth is a champion and advocate for minority women in leadership positions. Ebony removes the roadblocks stalling her clients' success so they can climb the corporate ladder with confidence and have a career that aligns with their purpose and amplifies their superpowers. So we are happy to have superpowers. We're happy to have Ebony here on the show. Hello.
Hi. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Happy Black History Month.
Yes, happy Black History Month.
And finally, in a year when is this the year when it isn't just February? Let's just put that out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, I'm Black every day, 365 days a year, but in February, I like to be extra Black. So.
There you go.
I want to know how you do your extra Blackness. So we'll probably discuss that today.
Okay.
Royce, go ahead and do the next.
Our next guest is a native of Miami, Florida. She's a licensed attorney in the state of Florida and the owner of Donley law firm. Amber is a former elementary school teacher. Oh, cool. And proud graduate of Bethune-Cookman. I'm going to mess up names now. I'm sorry. I'm going to mess up names here. Bethune-Cookman University. In addition, she's married to her husband, William, and has 2 children, Alyssa and Audrey. As a first-generation college graduate and product of a single-parent home, she has 8 siblings, fantastic people. She's proud to be an overcomer of odds stacked against her. Let's welcome Amber Donnelly, Esquire, to the show.
Hello. Spirit fingers.
There it is. All right. Is it Bethune-Cookman University?
Bethune-Cookman University.
Yay.
Founded by Mary McLeod Bethune. Oh, don't make me go down the history now. No.
Oh.
Well, before you go down the history, let's go ahead and introduce.
Let's get everybody here.
Final guest. Yes, she is a woman that has successfully grown 2 businesses while raising her daughter, Queen. She naturally leads, teaches, and creates with intention. You may know her as the face of her company. And speaking of names, I have to ask Ayanna. That's how she told me. Ayanna Denise Skin, based out of New Mexico. But Ayanna has worked and lived internationally and still enjoys traveling the world. She wants everyone to really live, love, and create with the intentions of improving what has been passed down to them. The constraints of society has as much power as you allow. So, Ayanna, welcome to the show.
Hi.
How is everybody?
Oh, good.
Wow.
This is like the power panel.
Exactly.
So exciting.
Thank you, everyone, for coming on the show today. And
great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear your viewpoints on this topic. So I think I'm going to start by asking, What is the hardest challenge you have had being a Black woman in this country today?
I don't want to just jump in there. If the other goddesses on the panel would like to say something first.
No, I need a minute.
Yeah,
Go
what?
ahead, sis. You got it.
Amid the process. Okay, all
I need
right.
a minute. If you ready, go ahead, jump.
You know, I don't remember all of my past lives, so all I know is this life, which means I can't really compare it to any. I don't know. I can't tell you what it is like being a Black woman versus being Indian woman or a French woman or a German woman. I just know how it is with my experience as a woman. Period. There's a lot of things that I think a lot of women have in common, which is fair to put out there. We're always told what to do, how we're supposed to act, how we're supposed to look, when we're supposed to talk, when we're not supposed to talk, what our aspirations are supposed to be, what our career path is supposed to look like, what really makes us a woman. Your husband, kids, all that bullshit. And I think that all women go through that, number one. For a Black woman, I think that we are the most brilliant women on this earth, and it's undervalued.
Absolutely.
And so one thing that we get, that I know that I've gotten, is a lack of respect for that brilliance.
That sounds about right.
Oh, that's a word.
Say more. Can you say more about like the lack of respect? Like, what is that? How does it show up?
It shows up with if there's something that's said and it gets sort of dismissed, you know, and it's noticeable because I notice it with my daughter who is 9 years old, and I've had to correct her teachers when they have done that. I've had to advocate for her because if she is not, and I'm not saying all teachers, so don't get me wrong, but I have had to advocate for her in certain situations with educators who have dismissed something that she said strictly because they don't speak the same way or they don't understand. And again, we are brilliant, and my daughter shows that brilliance. And because someone may not, they may think there's no way she could understand that. Well, how do you know she doesn't understand it? So don't dismiss it. Appreciate it, accept it, encourage it more, and let her little magic shine.
I'm sorry, Ebony.
I'm smiling now because I've met this magic 9-year-old, and she been here before, y'all. She's this baby is exceptional in all ways. But I think that is true for all of us to some degree. So I just want to lift up Ayanna's comment and also just share, like, in that moment of reflection, I think that the most difficult part about being a Black woman is that the parenthetical assignment of humanity that lives there, right? Like, structural racism seeks to erase and dehumanize us and has done so since the beginning of time, right? Or since the beginning of the social construction of race. And that tends to go ignored, especially for me as an African-American woman, as a descendant of enslaved Africans on this land, which is stolen land, right? Like the displacement of the spatial, like how I exist, right? Becomes something that I am, like, it feels like just my very existence is a resistance, right? And so that can become exhausting, right? When it's like, I am magic, but some days I just want to be regular degular in a sweatshirt and, you know what I mean? And some pajama pants. Like, why are there all these external factors, like the ones that Ayanna was mentioning, that are constantly functioning against or pushing against me in my individual identity, a way that society is asking for something of me or demanding something of me without my permission, without my consideration, without any conversation or the respect, or even the protection of acknowledging that that is dangerous for women to be pushed out on the ledge in that way. Especially when we live in a society that, you know, has historically marginalized and caused severe harm, right? So it's difficult in that way, but it's exhausting. It's exhausting to exist when your very breath is an act of revolution, you know?
Very true.
Yeah.
Just want a nap.
I mean, can I get these good naps? I went and made myself a little happy hour cocktail while I'm sitting there. Resting. You know what I'm saying?
So here's the good news about the later start time. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. That's
good
be
news is
I know cocktails.
Well, listen, but the good news is I thankfully, with so much gratitude to my ancestors and the women who have left examples for me, I know who I am and whose I am. So I also understand that the societal structure is a lie. It's exhausting to have to go out there and do those things and perform in those ways, but inside self, I'm tip top. So, you know, the resilience is dope.
Yeah.
So what about you, Amber?
I think for me, it's that it's a double-edged sword. I'm a woman, and that comes with its own set of baggage and issues. And I can definitely relate to other women who may have a different race. But then as an African-American woman, being Black, that has its own set of issues as well. So for example, as a lawyer and talking to women lawyers, it's frustrating when we go into a courtroom and it's assumed that we are the court reporter or not the lawyer. But it's interesting for me to go in as a Black woman and they think I'm the client. I don't even get a job as the court reporter.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
I'm the client with my power suit on, with my suitcase. I'm the client. And so those two worlds colliding make for an interesting existence as a woman.
Well, you're being too kind here. Interesting is not the word you were going to use.
And interesting, that's the word I'll use. But what I will say that I've learned in my skin and who I am, and I'm comfortable in my skin and who I am, I can just really show you better than I can tell you. So I am not concerned about what other people may have to say about me or what they may, limitations they may put on me. I will show you better than I can tell you.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
It's so amazing how sometimes I don't think about that, Amber, with Florida, especially because I think geographically, we deal with some different things as well. With you being in Florida and the people who are in Florida and just those nuances in the Southeast that, in my opinion, are different from New Mexico. I grew up in Georgia, so I am familiar with those nuances to the point where sometimes when I go back to that side, I still get a little bit of culture shock. And I want to slap people. And it's true, I do. And when you said the fact that you're in a courtroom and people think you're the client, I was like, she's in Florida, right?
You take a moment,
like, wow, people are so
and sometimes it comes off as people trying to help you. So another example, I started my own practice it's in Orange Park. So outside of Jacksonville, Florida, very rural, very conservative community. And I went to a networking event. I was the only African-American woman at the event, attorney or otherwise. Whoa. And so I was talking to people, shaking hands, kissing babies, networking to try to build relationships with folks. And a lady pulled me to the side, thinking she was doing me a favor, and said, "You know what, Amber, this is a good old boy network. You will not find clients in this community. It's going to be tough for you out here." And she really thought she was helping me. giving me advice, giving me some tips, and not realizing that she was trying to put a limitation on what I would be able to do.
Oh God.
And so to this day, I'm still the only African American female that owns a law firm in my community. So what did I do? Put a huge billboard up next to the mall with my face on it.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
So people would know that I'm out here.
That's right.
Normalize it. Damn it.
Normalize it. Yes.
But so in the, I think that's interesting because we're both here in Albuquerque, and so I find, and I'm originally from New Jersey, and then lived in Denver for 20 years. So the Southwest, though, New Mexico is different. The nuances are very different because you might be you're not the only person of color in the room, but likely to be the only Black person, especially Black woman in the room.
Normal. Yeah,
is normal in New Mexico. I find that people tend to start to kind of buck their eyes a little bit more when there are more than one of us. You know what I mean? So that's the place where people usually are like, what's happening over here? You know what I mean? Like,
what kind of event is this?
What is the event? You know what I mean? So,
oh my God.
So that part of it is different. And you realize how unfamiliar with Black culture the Southwest region can actually be, right?
Yes.
As far as like actual Black people. Right. And in that intra-racially, like the difference between our Haitian relatives that live in New Mexico or members of the refugee and migrant communities who are racially Black, but culturally, multinational. Right. And so it kind of highlights the way that New Mexico is it's a horse of a different color.
It is a horse of a different color.
That was my.
Before you continue, I just want to give a shout out to Talia, who wanted to praise Amber, saying "Good for you, Amber." And Sunny's here. We got a few comments that are coming in that I wanted to shout out.
Necessary topic.
Cool.
I love Shaniqua Walker Barnes' book, "Too Heavy the Yoke."
It's
Black women.
It's funny. You
and
guys,
the burden of strength.
Yeah, you guys actually have the experience that you've been outside of the state.
Oh, are you from here exclusively, Teresa? Long time, like full life New Mexican?
I guess it's gonna be another topic.
Yeah, I know.
I've been here since I was 2. So it's like Albuquerque is all I know. Yeah, so when you're mentioning the fact that the nuances, I feel like, see, when I started businesses, I was always that person, like I jumped into stuff. I was going to do whatever I wanted to do. And if I wasn't sure how to do it, I'll just figure it out later. So if I wanted to do something, I would do it. So, but I also noticed that most of the time when I was doing my businesses, which a lot of them was events, I was behind the scenes. So most of the time people don't even know the stuff I'm doing. Yeah. And so that really changed over the past few years. And what you're talking about is now what I'm experiencing, going to networking groups and kind of having the sense of like, it is, I have that moment of looking in a room and seeing, okay, how many Black people are? Okay, well, we got one. Like, I always feel like I'm always that one person in the room, but I'm always searching to see if there's someone else there. And then, of course, some of the people that I do meet, I kind of get those, wow, you speak so well, or you.
Ooh, that one.
Yeah.
There's no guarantees, though. So, like, even if you do lock eyes with another Black person in the room in New Mexico, I found they might not want to be outed. They might not necessarily be looking for community and connection in that moment. And so I've had some very awkward interactions where I'm kind of like, that's the thing where it's like Blackness, we're not a monolith, right? So just because I see you and see myself reflected, and that's something that I'm longing for as an individual, doesn't mean that person has to match that energy. And I find I'm going to go ahead and say it. I find specifically in New Mexico that Black men have a strong tendency to avoid that connection or interaction. There's a gender dynamic at play with regard to being the only and who has access to you and what that means to be, unintentionally coupled, right? There's, that's another lens of some of the challenges that that come with being such a sweeping minority. But I wanted to say to Amber, you inspire me. I just started, you and Ayanna both, I just started my LLC 2 years ago. And when I went to start opening up my bank account, it's the same credit union that I've been at since I've been here. They know me. I go in with all my paperwork. I've done all my research. And the woman was looking through my paperwork and she goes, "What kind of business is this?" She was like, "Is it a daycare?" And I was like, "No." Interesting. Like, she wanted to know if I was a daycare. And then the second manager came out and he asked me if it was a cleaning service. So the assumption of like being an entrepreneur and trying to get, a small business checking account was death by a million paper cuts of microaggressions at the bank. So that's
not even that's just flat out racism.
I mean, well, okay.
I seem to be experiencing that too with trying to find a place to live, because I guess I lucked out being where I'm at right now because I knew the people who own it. But now actually really having to go out and look for, they automatically see me and I could see their face. That they're like, can she afford rent? Because the minute I tell them that I own my own business, then all of a sudden it becomes this whole, well, we're really looking for somebody that can be, that they're going to be able to pay every month. They have to be, and
wow.
Like, isn't this how rent works?
Exactly. Right? I'm like, so every month, like how bills work when you pay. Okay. I wasn't sure that's how that worked, but I mean, it's silly to me because when conversations come up about experiences that Black people have had when it comes towards racism, I felt there was times I could not relate because I didn't have that experience. And it wasn't until I think I was 22 or 23 and I was in an elevator with a woman, a white woman. And I said, I said, good morning. And she just kind of like looked at me and took her purse and moved it to the other side of herself. And I went, that's what that feels like. And from that moment on, it's like now I'm catching all these experiences that I initially had, because I think you are right, Ebony. New Mexico is a completely different animal. I mean, I hear stories from other states and cities, and New Mexico is like sometimes it's a variety of flavors when it comes to your blatant racism that they'll just come out and say something, and then there's some that is just like really underlined, like they go in there smoothly with it. So it's really interesting here how the dynamic works here. But it's not until like I got older until I realized that. I didn't really realize it when I was younger.
And what I wanted to share with you all is something that I decided to do because I realized some folks just don't have exposure to Black, educated, beautiful women. And so something I decided to do here was, one, get involved in the community. I led a bar association called the D.W. Perkins Bar Association. And I hosted a bar event to bring the big bar, which is mostly white, bring the Asian bar, the women bar, all these bars together. And I created a unity day during the month of January in honor of Martin Luther King's birthday. And that was the first time anybody thought to get all of those groups together. Wow. It was a sea of colors and genders and sexual orientations, but nobody had thought to do that. And it gave folks an opportunity to connect in ways that they had not otherwise done. I challenged the attendees to get someone's business card that they would not otherwise have met or communicated with. And what came from that, later on, a clerk for a federal judge ran into me at an event and said, Amber, we invited a young lawyer, a Black young lawyer, to the federal courthouse. He had lunch with the federal judges and the attorneys, and we're keeping in touch with him and following him and, you know, making sure he's okay. And I kept getting different stories about how that one event, which was just an idea I had to bring all these groups together, and it allowed them to have, we're the same at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
We are all the same. And if we could just break down those walls and allow people to see us for who we are, I think it can make a difference. And that one event has now continued to, it turned into, from a luncheon to now it's a community day where those different bar associations go to Northeast Florida to pack food for people who are in need of food.
That's
I like
awesome.
that tenacity. I like that tenacity.
So take our strength that we have. So yes, there's challenges. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, there's things that make me want to shout. But what can I do with my power to leave things better than the way I found them?
Yeah.
I mean, that was actually something we noticed when we moved to New Mexico, as we looked at the demographics. One of the things we're excited about this place is that variety really is variety here.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the challenges is, you know, the African-American population in New Mexico is low digits. It's nowhere near the average nationally. And because there's so many different minority groups who all have their biases against each other, it's that typical thing that was very deliberate in our empire of, as long as we keep all these groups divided, they can never figure out that they outnumber the fuck out of the rich white guys at the top of this pyramid scheme. So it really, like, I think that's one of the challenges of Albuquerque and our state in general. But you're absolutely accurate. When you get groups together across those lines, I keep bumping into memory of Lord's writing that it's our difference that makes us, that this is what we need to be celebrating. Our differences are what we need to be celebrating. In addition to recognizing that, you know, anybody on screen here might be a better kidney donor for me than, you know, my neighbor, who is very, very white. Like, I mean, just to be clear that it's at a DNA level, there's anyway.
Yeah, we're
all descendants of Mother Africa, Royce.
Yes.
We are all descendants of Mother Africa. So yeah, that mitochondrial DNA joke.
Some of us just took a little.
Mad about it, though.
Yeah.
Some of y'all got attitudes about it and just don't want to accept it.
Brilliant.
So being we have some powerful Black women on this screen. So I feel like even with the topic that was created, because I've grown up that I handle things on my own. I figure out a way. The whole.
Are we back to Sinceris's comment?
Yeah. I just feel like it's
strong Black women.
Yeah. Do we have a need because we're used to doing everything on our own? What is the need if we really actually need it?
And right along with that, Torian's question, you know, how does identity not get lost in unity? I feel like these are two just massive chunks, you know, both the dance of that model minority, the strong Black woman, all of that crap that you guys get saddled with, alongside, like, so what's the dance for unity and identity? Anybody want to tackle any of this?
I'm interested in Torian's question about unity and identity, because I think that we mistake dominant culture mistakes or conflates unity with assimilation.
Yeah, go.
And so that's not what we're doing, right? That those containers and the way that we compartmentalize one another and value and create this stratified society, or this hierarchy of who is what and who gets to be where and who has access to all. As long as that system functions, then, you know, unity is not possible unless every individual brings their whole self to making the commitment of being in community with other human beings. Like, it really does start with one. It's not, there isn't a brush that can be swiped to say like, oh, you know, we're just all going to get along. I don't see color, right? Like that's not, I want you to see color. I want you to see my lime green sweater and my purple lip and my melanated skin and my highlighted cheekbones. I put it on so you would see it. I looked at it when I did. I want you to see it too.
And unless you see it, I see it.
Okay, so yeah, I want to keep every single part of that self in my identity and hold on to that. But I also want to be engaged with humans who are that well seated in who they are, so that they show up and bring them their whole selves too. And then we can, like, you know, eat, have a drink, tell a joke, you know what I mean? Sit on a rock, walk, you know, do human things, not kill each other, you know, not hate one another. We might actually be able to love ourselves, and, you know, like then you can love somebody else, you know, because you feel worthy of love. So you also feel like somebody else is deserving of you extending that love to them. Right? Like when you identify that you yourself are a miracle who is mathematically impossible, and therefore every other human being is as well, you treat people different, you know? So I think that's where the identity piece is integral to unity, but we just can't mistake unity for assimilation anymore.
Absolutely not. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think that you can have unity and relationships with folks that run the gambit, but I think you can still bring who you are to the table. And it's about identifying people who can appreciate you for who you are and not try to change you. I think you can have both unity and identity. And for those who can't get on board with your identity, they just don't need to be in your inner sanctum. You can say hi to them. You can be cordial. You can be colleagues or whatever. But for those who are meant to be in your circle, they'll appreciate you for who you are and what you bring to the table, even if it's a challenge to the way they may think and operate.
Yeah.
There was a during COVID, especially with civil injustice and everything, there was a lot of literature that was coming out to the forefront, and I'm pretty sure everyone has seen it, where you see books about what is white. Okay, I just had a brain fart. What am I saying? What is white privilege? Okay, that's one. What is white privilege? How can we be inclusive? Books like that for kids, especially. One thing I believe in very strongly is that the key is really in the next generation, because as much as I would like some 80-year-olds to change, I just can't make them see it. You know, you can't push that, just like I can't get them out of the cotton fields as far as, you know, where we started also. So in a big way, and maybe also because my daughter is 9, I'm able to see certain things that affect her with the colonized education system, is to say, when I see those books that start with that, I think, well, wait a minute. Well, how do they start at home? How are we teaching them at home? You know, like one of the ladies said earlier, we're beautiful. Ebony said, I want you to see my color. I'm gorgeous. You know, see that, recognize it. And not just that, but when you get books that tell you about the different cultures and the different people, and they're doing like normal things, like walk down the street in a book and she has a song to sing, or, you know, can she talk about some homework that she has to do that night? And can it like normalize us as opposed to starting us with the struggle? And I think that when you're able to do that, you're actually able to see each person as an individual, and you can say, we are humans. We can humanize everybody, because that's how you learn. I don't teach my daughter to hate. Why would I do that? I teach her how to love, and I teach her how to appreciate, and I teach her that seeing those differences makes us beautiful people, and we have different strengths. that person has a strength that maybe you don't have that strength in. And it's okay to acknowledge that person like that. That doesn't just go with different cultures. That goes within us as well. We're not going to all think the same. We are way too multifaceted and complex.
Yeah.
Just from off the continent of itself. When you follow that history, you understand that's the beauty of humanity. But the complexities of Africa in itself really should show everybody that we have all been affected somehow along the lines ancestrally. And it's okay to acknowledge that, but also understand that and see it. Ebony and Amber are not going to think the same way I do. And guess what? It's okay. Yeah. Teresa doesn't have to think this exact same way I do. They're not any less of my sisters because they think differently than me. Mm-hmm. You're still my sisters. So I can still have love for you and care for you and not kick you under the table and still make sure when we do see each other in the grocery store, we might do a praise dance because we're happy. We're happy to see each other. I think Ebony and I probably French kissed each other last time we saw each other. Because each other in so long. Yeah. Like, oh my God, my sister, I haven't seen you in a year and a half, because of COVID also. So just, enjoying those moments. And there's no way we could have enjoyed that moment if we didn't appreciate who each of us were. Yes. Already. Yeah. We have to teach our children that. They are modeling us. We're teaching them.
I also don't want to let white folks off the hook, though. So I mean, at the same time, I 150% 10 toes down agree with you. And like, Royce, I think you said at the top of the show, and I like to say that after you've had a conversation with me, or if I facilitate a workshop or a training for you, if I work for you, if it's a performance or whatever, wherever you experience me, when you come away from that experience, you don't know anything more about Black women at all. You only know more about me.
Yeah.
I don't speak for all of us. We don't speak, but our voices together make a pretty dope choir, if I must say so myself. You know what I mean? So, but each of those voices are important and have something to offer to the conversation. I do want to say though, when the Civil Rights Act was signed, it wasn't unanimous. So, and the Republicans who lost in that vote, the 49% or 46% or whatever it was, they still went home and continued to be racist and to seed that racism into the generations that came up after them. Yeah. And as we saw on January 6th, there is still a very vibrant community of folks who have been born and bred on that same hate juice. Okay. And so those people are also raising children that are in the public and private school sectors right now, predominantly in private and independent school sectors right now, who are literally like feeding on that. Yeah. So I just want to say that we can't allow, I think that holding whiteness to task, to be responsible, to really acknowledge, and there's a bone deep level of knowledge that whiteness has of the atrocities of racism and discrimination that they are just not willing to admit, even some of our best and most fierce and loud allies. So, we good, right? Like on January 6th, I don't know about y'all, but I was sitting there watching television like, will you look at these fools? I wasn't out, you know what I mean? I'm not shocked, right? Like, because we've seen this before. So like that outrage and that age of innocence that it still exists, we would like to invite y'all to come on to the future with us. And I say y'all, meaning your cousins, Royce, just... You know what I mean? I say that with love, but just come on with us to the future of how we can really like re-envision how we create this new society in the children that we're raising right now, because they are watching our every move.
A society rooted in love and relationship instead of law and order, instead of crime and punishment, instead of profit and loss. Like, what would that be like? Because it's not just people of color that are going to benefit from it.
Yeah. Like, Tori, I hate that Torian brought up this question like at the tail end of the show. Man, that's a whole nother show. Ebony kind of went into Ebony. I heard you go into it. You kind of like dipped your head in just a little bit, and then you brought it back out.
I don't want to start no problems in here.
Are you referring to his questions about relationships?
Yes.
So I am married to an African American male who's also a graduate of a historically Black college. He's also a lawyer. And so I am all about raising a family and growing with him as my partner. My preference has always been Black males. And I am showing my daughters that Black love is incredible. But I will be honest, whoever they choose to love, I'm going to support. But the example they see at home is a strong Black male and a strong Black female raising them to be leaders in our community and in our society. I love me some him.
I just want to say for the record, I love Black men down, like down. Like it's no problem there. I'm just saying we got some issues that I would love to work out and, you know, have conversations about how we fix that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that, and Torian and I've had this conversation before, that it's like the issues that I know of from dating become even more exacerbated the second you begin to encounter this dynamic of, well, you're supposed to, like, you damn well better love a Black man because it's your duty, you know, that kind of crap. And then what does that do to a relationship? Also, like, you know, how do you love across those lines when that's where love is? So anyway, there's a lot
and
there.
the divorce
That's a whole nother
attorney
stuff.
who gets to represent folks.
And now the person who recently went through the
I will say what I have learned, although my preference is, you know, my African American male who's at home, who cooked dinner for me because I'm still in my office.
Love that.
I love that too. I
realize it's about being with the person you're most compatible with. I see day in and day out people entering relationships for all the wrong reason, and then they have to pay me an exorbitant amount of money to get out of it. It starts with day one, choosing someone who's on the same page with you when it comes to building a life together. When it comes to standards of how you're going to raise your family, how you're going to manage your finances. If it's a blended family, making sure that it's now one unit instead of having living as two different households. What I see most often in divorce cases is that people didn't take the time to get to know each other on the front end about those important issues that help to sustain a relationship. So regardless of the superficial things, it's about the heart of the person you're choosing to enter a covenant with. And I think people miss that all too often. My husband and I went through counseling for months before we got married to make sure we were on the same page with finances, with children, with money, with sex, with every issue under the sun. And we disclosed so much information, credit scores. We had to get health examinations so we knew what we were dealing with, so we can make an informed decision about living our lives together.
Yeah,
and I will say,
the whole idea that marriage is about love and that's it. I think everybody gets caught up in that little fairy tale part that they forget about, like, all the other stuff.
You have to live together.
Like somebody to sit down and talk about all that stuff with them.
What did you say?
I said, you know how much you got to really, really like somebody to sit down and have those kinds of conversations with them and then still decide to get married and spend the rest of your life together. I said in the comments, my inner commitment phobe be like, well, if you don't get married, you can't get divorced. So
my husband's on here, Prince Will.
I was gonna say, is that him?
I love that.
Well, I'm still learning after everything, certain myths I feel were put in place. And when we talk about, like, we're all mothers here, we all talked about that, you know, I think there's always a sense of limiting. You can't have it all. You're going to have to focus on one thing. If you want a business, focus on that. But your kids, no. You're going to have to wait to have kids if you're doing X, Y, and Z. And so I'm still not getting used to the fact that, sometimes, you don't have to be in a relationship in order to be fulfilled. You don't have to. I'm still learning all this stuff. This has only been 2 years for me. So it's like
what,
all these myths. All these
Teresa,
myths.
what I have learned with just, I have been married, I've been divorced, I've been, I've had an extremely colorful history to where I've just figured, every person needs to understand who they are. Mm-hmm. When you understand that, which in a way I understood it, but I didn't completely understand it because I still had some pressures from society and family to do these certain things, what I'm supposed to do to be fulfilled. Making a certain amount of money and traveling the world just isn't enough. That's not fulfilling enough, is it? You should be married and have kids in order to feel like a real woman, right? I fell under that, and until I figured out who I was, which was just recently, by the way, in the past 5 years, I could understand what that meant for me with all of my relationships. What are my friendships supposed to look like? And what is my career supposed to look like? And what kind of mother am I supposed to be? I had to really follow that. And I think every person goes back to that individualism. You need to understand who you are to understand what path you need to take and what decisions, which still aren't going to be perfect. But as a person, we all have businesses, right? Realistically, everybody is not built to have a business. It's not something everyone can do. Right.
Like what we had on our show, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Everybody would do it.
It's on the wrong day. I'd be telling myself, are you allowed to have a business? Like in the mirror, like, you have a business, lady. You gotta go to work. I'm like, right. Okay.
You have to do it. And even with parents, same thing goes with parenting. It's not for everybody. It's okay to be realistic about that. It's not for everybody. Even though when I was 13, I said I wanted 5 kids, but guess what? There were some things that I wanted to do also that was like, well, do you want to travel the world or do you want to start popping out the babies? That was something I had to understand about myself as well. So as far as what a Black woman needs, a woman needs, a human being needs, an individual needs, you don't know that answer until you understand who you are. Ayanna has a certain set of needs. Ayanna needs freedom. Ayanna needs support. Ayanna needs to be a mother who can write her own rules as far as how to mother. Ayanna needs to stay busy. I'm just a naturally busy person. I always have been. I cannot sit. And that's okay. And I had to realize that I'm not the person who can go on vacation, for 2 weeks and not do anything because I'll go crazy. So you have to understand that about yourself. What is balance? Well, it depends on what the individual calls balance. What do you need around you?
Yeah.
I would just say that it's wonderful to learn that, instill it in our kids and our youth for them to learn it early, but also know that you can learn it at 40. You can learn it at 50.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's no
learn it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to learn it. It may not be on your deathbed, because I've sat with people on their deathbeds enough times. So you're going to have to face this. Yep. Even if it's crying alone with bed sores, we're all going to face this at some point.
Exactly.
And I would like to at least jump in here and say that you can have it all. When I thought about, the needs of the modern day woman, I thought about what is my source that can help to sustain me. And for me as a believer, that's God. He's created me. He knows everything about me. He's created a path. And if I follow the path, everything I need will attract to me because I'm leaning on a source that's all knowing, all powerful, everywhere, all at the same time. And because I am a believer, and because I am doing what I'm supposed to do, I can be everything that God has predestined me to be. I can be a wife to William. I can be a mom to Alyssa and Audrey. And for the record, Alyssa is 17, Audrey is 2. So I'm in between college prep and potty training. I can be a lawyer, and I used to be a teacher. I can own a law firm. I can be a sister, a friend. I can lead a bar association. I can do it all. So I push back on anything that says that I can't. And I realize that that looks different for everybody.
There's a thing,
push back on what people say, you know, you can't have it all. I can have everything God predestined me to have. Yeah. And I'm taking it. I'm not leaving planet Earth without it.
That's right. Claim that.
It's a word. It inspires me so much to hear this language being shared in the space of no, like, take the governors off. Take the limitations off, because most often they were put there by somebody else who didn't know their strength, that didn't know their source, that didn't have, you know, and also it might have been projected onto us by people who were trying to protect us, right, and keep us safe, right? So maybe parents or society, communities, exes, you know, whatever other person's insecurities might have been functioning, and they tend to model for, especially female bodies and women-bodied individuals, this patriarchal kind of like stronghold, like a regulator that tells you what you can and cannot do. But if you get to a place where you embody love and embody self-love.
Yeah, I was going to say, for yourself, like, gotta be in there, right?
Not external sources for love. Like, a lot of times when we're looking for love from someplace else, we want it from a man, we want it from a baby, we want to feel it from our family when we get married, we want to feel it from the people who clap for us when we do a good job at things. We're outsourcing our love.
Yeah.
And so that will always disappoint, right? Man is always going to disappoint you, right? And I'm talking about the human entity as opposed to spirit, right? So that love that we can embody unconditionally, to be able to sit with self and be at peace, right? I love what you said, Ayanna, just naming what Ayanna needs. Ebony needs peace. Ebony needs space. Ebony needs support. Ebony needs reflection. You know, Ebony needs cute shoes and good food and laughter. You know, Ebony needs these things to feel, you know, these are the things I need. I need exercise. I need fresh air. I need to ground my feet and my body into the earth and be connected with that. That is what the needs are. And that is not something that I have ever been able to find on Tinder, y'all. It's not there.
No. So if you have that need, you can find that.
I mean, like, there is some other needs that folks might have that you could get on the Tinder machine, but that's not what I need to be happy.
Oh, to be happy. Yes, you are correct.
You know, so like this, but just embodying the self-love. I say self-care is cute, but radical self-care and embodied self-love is revolutionary. That is when we're actually talking about the world, right?
The comment earlier from Sarah about y'all got to check out the Undistracted podcast. Its latest episode is about rest as resistance. Like that, this is how we resist.
So the NAP ministry. Right? Yes, shout out to the NAP ministry, and the NAP bishop who does research specifically for Black bodies in the fact that because of how we were predisposed to work and labor as an equivalence to our value as humans, right? We're predisposed to feel like we have to work all the time, that we have to be moving. And so in order to resist that inclination and what it does to our bodies, we sometimes need to go sit the hell down somewhere and put our feet up and rest and not do anything for anybody. And that is the resistance.
I got to put out there too, that this is one of the intersections for me of where I want white men to hear that, because I understand differently than you do. And in today, our society today, we are still being overworked. And there's a lot of wisdom from our Black brothers and sisters who can say, y'all, we know this one. This need, you know, you need to be taking care of yourself. Because when I work with white men, that is one of the major pressures. So white men, sit at the feet of your sisters here for a second, because that is a truth we need to hear. We are more than just our paycheck to our families. I still that does not ring true in my gut. And I've been a homemaker for 13 years.
Wow. Yeah, there are some onion layers in that conversation that I would love to, I mean, like, make you want to make your eyes run water, because the relationship of labor and capitalism, and the fact that this is the house that white maleness built, and now the systems that were designed to protect that patriarchy.
But only certain white men.
Only certain white men, true.
Even though we benefit from it.
But the ones that were not built for, though, still ascribe them. They still use, that's where the privilege comes in, because they still use that to ascribe themselves to the dominant, wealthy upper, the 1%. You can go back to January 6th, right? Like, Trump got on his helicopter and deuced out on everybody, but that did, and then left, the unwashed masses of poor and working class white men feeling dejected and abandoned by their chosen leader. You know what I mean? So, like, but in order to do that, there has to be this acknowledgement, awareness, and accountability taken for the harms that, because I will say this, just speaking for myself, I don't trust whiteness in that way, because I have not seen whiteness present itself as vulnerable enough to actually come and sit at my feet, and to honor the work and the labor of what it took to build this country and withstand the systemic oppression that exists herein. But when that does happen, and I have seen it happen, but ayahuasca was involved. So, but when that, and sometimes you gotta go straight to the source. But when until I can see that start to happen in a way, I don't know how to ensure the safety of Black and brown folks, especially women, to be engaged with white masculinity in a healthy way, because we just haven't named many of the atrocities that have been carried out yet. And I would love to see that happen.
Yeah. All right. So Tori has been flashing the wrap up. We're like 15 minutes over or 17.
The only reason he hasn't shut us down yet is because he wishes he was on the show.
It's true. It's true.
It's funny because it's true. So we are going to end this by each of you sharing with us what projects you have coming up and how people can find you. So we'll start with Ebony.
Boom.
Boom.
So I have recently launched a coaching practice called Transformation Coaching. And what that is one-on-one consultations and coaching support with me to help to uncover and identify major goals and visions. Like we're talking about, you can have everything. If you believe that to be true, when you can identify that there's something that's keeping you stuck from actually going for the everything, what we need is support, right? So systems were created to tell us that we can't have everything. And those systems are supported. So get you a system that will teach you how to circumvent those lies so that you can get the everything that you want. And I work through transformational coaching and development consulting and racial equity to help women in business, but also organizations, corporations to get mission aligned with race, equity, inclusion, and, actually putting their money where their mouths are as we, dismantle these systems of oppression. So that's what I do. You can find me on social media. I'm like, what else should I say right now? You can find me on social media at Transformation Coach Ebony. I produce an event called Birthday Noir, which is a performance and visual art showcase that centers Black artists in New Mexico. We are on social media outlets at Birthday Noir, BURQUENOIR. And you can follow me on Instagram at Coach Ebony Said.
All righty. Okay, Tori, pop up the next person.
Go, God.
There we go.
That's Ayanna.
That would be me. I was glad that I came after Ebony because I wanted to tell everyone that if you have not heard of Birthday Noir, you're really missing out. Whenever you see one of the Birthday Noir events pop up, make yourself available. Make yourself just like understand, like, oh, well, if I don't go, I'm going to miss out on some important stuff. And you are. I've been going and attending Birthday Noir events for 4 years, I believe now. They always overwhelm me with just beautiful Blackness. Like if you didn't love being Black before you went, you will leave saying, gosh, I'm really the shit, aren't I? Just to hear Ebony and, just be around her and let her just feed into you. I always wonder, like, where does she get that energy to just keep pumping that into us? Because when I leave one of Ebony events, I really do feel like Superwoman. So just for that Ebony, I just want to thank you for that, because you always do that for us. You always do it for African American women. You do it for African descent women, period. And so I thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So yeah, I always have a lot of projects going on. One thing that I have on my mission this year for 2021 is to grow the community in the way that I'm good at growing the community. The way that our money is spent. I want to make sure people get paid. I want to make sure our economy gets stronger. And I'm using my resources to do that. As I build my company, I am creating a different ladder of opportunities for people. So as an owner of Ayanna Denise Skin, which is all skincare services and products, I look at supporting smaller businesses to actually provide products so everyone gets paid. I also am involved with a couple of different organizations that make sure the money gets out in the community. That's a big part of what I do. As also skincare industry business owner, I am really big about making sure women of color are seen as the absolute gorgeous goddesses that we are. I mean, we're gorgeous. So I put my face on everything because, hey, guess what? I'm a thick chick and I'm heavily melanated. I'm proud of my body. I love myself. I think I'm gorgeous. I think that every curve and dent and crease and different colors that are on my skin are beautiful, and I think it should be seen, and I think women should be able to relate to that. And I think by seeing that, we can also get through the colorism that goes throughout all of our ethnicities of what that standard of beauty is. And I'm working really hard to change that. And also through service as well, not just through products. So I really am focused on making sure people love their skin and not just cover it up or not just fix it. I want them to love their skin as it is. So that's what all of my efforts are going into this year, as well as making sure my daughter understands how amazing she is and brilliant in a time where we're preparing for the age of Aquarius, and she's going to be, a forerunner for that. And as her guide, as her mother, I have a big responsibility to make sure that she's ready for it.
So, last but not least, Miss Amber.
Yes. So here in the state of Florida, Donley Law Firm prides itself on providing excellent service and legal representation in the areas of family law, probate, estate planning, and guardianship. So that's the core of what I do. I help folks that are going through some really tough times, and my desire and prayer for them all is by the end of whatever process we're working on, there is hope as possible so that they can be better in life. And outside of that, I am preparing Alyssa for college. She's leaving the nest. She graduates in May. This is happening. I am not okay, but this is happening. This is happening. And in addition to that, I'll just put into the atmosphere some things that I do want to do in the future outside of the practice of law and being mommy and wife and everything else I have going on. I want to be a published author. So I've written a manuscript. So I'm going to take steps to get my book published and to promote that side of me that I enjoy doing.
All right, you threw it down. Stick the flag in the ground then.
This is happening.
All right, when will your publisher's packet be ready?
I am going to be ready by April.
By April. Awesome.
By April.
I'm working through this right now too, so I'm like, yeah, we gotta plant these flags. We gotta get this shit rolling. I love it.
I'm gonna shoo these ladies away because we are going to record a little bit of after show stuff. That was the stuff I sent you, so go to that link. But you guys will get to see that at another date. We're taking advantage of still picking the brain after we're off air, and we'll go ahead and let you see those little tidbits later. So thank you, ladies, for coming on this Monday. We really
Thank you so
appreciate it.
much for having
Our
us.
pleasure.
And it was a
Thank you for the
wonderful
opportunity.
time. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, he put me off.
Teresa, I was going to say.
There we go.
You left the white guy up here, the one that didn't need to be here for this show.
Oh goodness. So thank you everyone who came out again every Monday, continuing to support us. We really appreciate it.
Yep.
Once again, a reminder, please make sure you subscribe to Where's Your Heart. All you have to do is search for Where's Your Heart live. Make sure you add that live, and make sure you click the notification button so you know when new shows are coming up.
And please also know that we're watching social media, we're checking our email and stuff. So we're going to start a thing where we ask you to ask us questions so that we can start chewing on them between shows in a variety of formats. But to do that, we need you to start asking fun questions. Like y'all throw some fun ones out there every now and then. We know that there's more. So start hitting us with them. We want to start doing more throughout the week. Other than that, thank you all for being here, and God, what a yeah.
That's